Hey, in this video, I'm gonna go through the 5 biggest mistakes that I see players making on their forehand and giving you tools on how you can fix them, as your forehand is probably the shot that you hit most often. And if you're anything like most players, it's your weapon, but also your weakness. Let's get into it. If you're a subscriber to the channel or you've been watching my videos for a while, you'll probably have a good idea of where mistake number 1 comes from, as I often talk about tactics coming first before technique. And so mistake number 1 is your shot selection on your forehand. As I honestly see, this is where most unforced errors come from in most players' games. As for most players, the forehand side tends to be the favored shot. And anytime you favor a shot, you're more tempted to go for those higher risk shots. Use Carlos Alcaraz as an example. Alcaraz has one of the best forehands of all time, as on any given ball that he receives, he has tons of options. He can rip his forehand with topspin, he can flatten it out, or he can hit a disguised drop shot from behind the baseline. Now, this might sound amazing, but with lots of options also comes decisions to make. And even for someone of Carlos's caliber, it can become a problem. You'll often see him making unforced errors through having too many options. Now, I know that sounds crazy, so let's bring it back to reality and bring it back into your game. The most common mistake that I see players making on their forehand when it comes to shot selection is hitting the wrong shot for the phase of play that they should be in. When you're playing a point, there are 4 phases of play. We have defense, when you're under pressure, whether that's pushed back behind the baseline or pinned into one of the corners. Anytime your opponent has the upper hand, you're in defense. We have rally mode. This is where you and your opponent are both neutral. Neither of you has the opportunity to attack. Phase 3 is attack. This is where you have the opportunity to put your opponent under more pressure. Anytime you have an easier, shorter, slower ball, your job is to put the pressure on by attacking. And phase 4 is finish. And this is putting the ball away to finish the point. Now, anytime you're in defense or rally, you should really try to go cross court. And although this might sound obvious to you, far too many players try to go down the line when in defense and rally, often resulting in a mistake or an easy passing shot for your opponent at the other end. Not only is cross court safer because you've got more than 4 feet of distance to play with when hitting on the diagonal, and you're hitting over the lowest part of the net, which is actually 6 inches lower in the middle than it is in the corners, there are 2 more fundamental reasons. 1, when hitting cross court, you're able to pull your opponent further out of play. And number 2, you don't have to recover as far when getting ready for your next shot. As anytime you pin your opponent in the corner of the court, you don't need to recover all the way to the middle. You need to be off center to the opposite side of the court from where you've sent the ball. And so if you feel like you often make the wrong decisions when playing points, try to stick to cross court as much as you possibly can, especially when you're rallying and defending, and save your down the line shots for when you're in the attacking or finishing phase. Now, you might think that that becomes predictable and that your opponent's gonna know what you're doing, but the fact of the matter is they're so focused on their game, they won't realize that you're sticking to these good patterns. And what you'll actually find is if you stick cross court for as long as you can, they'll be the ones to rush and go down the line first, often making a mistake or inviting you to hit a much safer winner cross court. Mistake number 2 is a technical one, and it comes down to splitting your hands too early. You may have heard me talk about this before, but your offhand when hitting your forehand is vital for your efficiency, your balance, and your control. And what lots of players do wrong is they prepare well for their forehand with their offhand coming back with the racket, but they'll pull their offhand away, opening up their chest to the court before they hit the ball. The problem with this is you then start to spray, whether you're dragging the ball across to your left or you're catching the ball late and hitting it off to the right. You really lack directional control. What we should really be doing with our offhand as we strike and finish the shot is, once we've prepared in this coiled position, hips and chest sideways on with our arm across our body, our legs are going to drive our back hip through before the racket comes through. And at the moment that your hips start to move, you also want to drive your offhand elbow back, tucking your arm in towards your chest. This is going to help you to increase the speed of that rotation and in turn increasing your racket head speed, allowing you to hit the ball deeper, potentially with more spin if that's what you're looking for as well. But the key is not opening up too early, holding on in this position for as long as you can until you're ready to drive into the ball. If you want to be really picky with where your elbow should finish, ideally anytime you're hitting a forehand from the back of the court with an intention to drive up and create arc, you want your elbow to be slightly higher than your contact point. This is going to help you to accelerate up the back of the ball to get that trajectory. Mistake number 3 is another technical one, and it comes to the size of your backswing and the size of your follow through. Generally speaking, most players have a backswing that is unnecessarily big. The benefit of a big backswing is you can generate more power as it creates more space between your racket and the ball, giving you the ability to really accelerate towards it. The downside of a big backswing is it takes much longer, and often for players that have a big backswing, they catch the ball late, meaning inconsistency and a lack of power. Now, most players won't see the backswing being a problem in itself. They might see it in a different form, as a common thing it leads to is a very short follow through. Most players that have a really big backswing, when catching the ball slightly late, they end up trying to control the ball by stopping quickly. And so they spend time working on trying to follow through, but actually it's not helping, as the root of the problem is their timing and their big backswing. Instead of having a big backswing and a short follow through, we want to flip that. Ideally, we want a short backswing and a long follow through. This is going to help you to time the ball better, as you're going to have much more time on the ball, but also it's going to help you to extend your hitting zone through the ball, allowing you to improve not only your directional control, but your depth. Now, yes, initially when you try to shorten your backswing, you'll find that you lose a bit of power, but what you lose in power, you'll gain massively in control. And if you do it properly and pair it with tip number 1, where I'm talking about using your coiling and using your legs to generate power, you'll be able to regain that power through better timing and using your bigger muscle groups. And so rather than a big backswing and mistiming the ball, we want to keep our backswing small and well timed. Mistake number 4 is gripping the racket too tightly as you hit the ball. And you've probably heard this before, but maybe for different reasons to what I'm going to explain to you here. Now, having a tight grip on your racket tenses all of the muscles in your forearm, which really reduces the range of movement that you have in your elbow and your wrist. Whereas if you grip really loosely, your elbow and wrist can move in their most natural plane of movement. Now, having this looseness allows you to use all of the energy that you've built up through your legs and your torso as you rotate into the shot. That looseness in your wrist is going to allow you to release that energy. However, if you grip really tightly, even if you do great movements with your legs and your torso, it's really going to limit your power. But it also changes the mechanics of your swing, as by gripping tightly, it forces your racket to move in one plane of motion, often decreasing the length of your hitting zone. It stops you from going all the way through the ball, but also it really limits the amount of internal rotation you can get from your shoulder. And if you think of a nice, loose, heavy topspin forehand, your hand is going to roll over the ball like this. Whereas if you're gripping tightly, it just won't happen. Your swing is going to be more of a swipe across your body. Now, my 2 top tips to help you to be looser on your grip is number 1, replacing your overgrip as often as you can. As if you've got a grip that has no grip left on it, you're going to feel like you have to grip really tightly, otherwise you're going to drop the racket. Whereas a nice fresh overgrip, you're going to feel much more confident gripping loosely and ripping through the shot. But the second thing you can do is to try to practice breathing out as you hit the ball. By breathing out, it allows you to loosen up your muscles in your arm, but at the same time, it helps you to tense those muscles in your core, allowing you to be really stable, but at the same time, loose. The 5th mistake is losing the collision with the ball. And what I mean by this is simply letting your opponent's shot put you on the back foot. Instead, on every forehand where possible, we want our body weight traveling forwards or at least staying neutral. The last thing we want is our body weight going backwards. Now, the first way to fix this is first recognizing the type of player you're playing at the other end. If they're a big, heavy hitter, you want to position yourself further back than you normally would be. This is just going to give you space and time to step in to that oncoming ball. If they're a player that hits the ball shorter or with less speed, then by all means you can be on the baseline, but just make sure you give yourself enough space on every single ball. We're all pretty good at reading whether we're going to hit a forehand or a backhand on any given ball, but what most players struggle with is depth perception. And so if you feel like you're often caught on the back foot, it's really important that you're more aware and more alert when it comes to reading the depth of the oncoming ball. As soon as you see that that ball's coming deeper or heavier, get yourself back far enough to give yourself room to get your body weight going forwards. And if you get caught in a position where they've hit a really good shot at your feet, rather than letting that ball push you onto the back foot, try and get wider with your base. This is going to give you a lot more stability and control when you're taking the ball on the rise, but it's also going to allow you to hold your ground and stay neutral as opposed to leaning back. I've created a new tennis product for players like yourself to help you to level up your training sessions. In this deck of cards are 48 of my favorite and most effective training drills, along with 6 focus cues to take your tennis to the next level. The drills consist of warm-ups, cooperative and competitive drills. For example, this is the 2x1 line drill. It's got a nice clear diagram of how you execute the drill, along with some tips at the bottom. I'm honestly chuffed with how well these cards have gone down. So far, I've had orders from 55 different countries. And so if you're interested in getting your hands on the training deck, I put the link in the description below.